Okay, so let's continue and let's build our slope function. So for that, again, like usual, we need to create a material function. So get this one. We call this one mf underscore lerp. Open that one up. Let's maximize that. We need inside here a function input, but this function input should be a material attribute node. Then we get material attributes. So pretty important, get material attributes. And here, let's add 5 different texture slots. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then let's open that one up. We can organize it a little better. So let's do base color, then specular, then we do a roughness. Doesn't really matter, but just keep things clean. The metallic we are going to change to a normal. So if I find it, yes. And last but not least, we get the ambient occlusion. So let's put it here, and then we put it here. Of course, we are going to connect that. And we get an add renamed. Add named reroute. This is what I tried to tell you. And we call this one a B underscore albedo. So you can also name it just base color, but in my case, for me, it's albedo. And then we do the same here, add named reroute declaration node, call this one B underscore specular. Then we get the roughness add named reroute. You can also just copy that and just rename it if you want to, but in my case, it's fine. So B underscore roughness, we get another reroute declaration node and call this one B underscore normal. So for each texture, we have a reroute node, just to keep things clean as usual. Add named reroute declaration node, B underscore ambient occlusion. Okay, so then we can just select Q everything. So let's just apply and save for now. Then let's just copy all that stuff because we want to lerp that with another material. So this is why we call this one B as our base material. And then we are going to lerp it with this one. So let's just call this one A. And let's just give it a uniform color if this is possible. Is it? You just need to click on this arrow here, and then let's just maybe get a nice, beautiful pink, and then select everything here. Let's just align that left, just to keep things clean. Q that, and let's give it another color. Just click on this arrow here, and then you can change the color. Let's do maybe something like, I don't know, yellow, greenish stuff. Beautiful, and then let's just align that. Left also. And this one, we just need to add the prefix here, which is A, and also I want to remove the one. So let's just, just B, that's it. So remove 1, and this is A, and this is A without underscore 1. Here also remove the underscore 1, and this is not B, this is A. So we do know this is A, normal is A, roughness is A, specular, albedo, we need to remove that. 1 underscore. Perfect. So let's apply and save. Okay, so now we want to lerp things. Before we do that, we need, first of all, let's just keep pressing here L and click here. So just prepare that. This is perfectly fine. Let's just, I'm not really sure, let's put it here. Doesn't really matter. So get some space down here. We need another function input. So this is what we use all the time. This is a scalar, and we call this one alpha. And we get another function input. And the first alpha is called alpha albedo or base color. Doesn't really matter. So we know that this is our color alpha. So this is our basically a value between 1 and 0 when we lerp those two things together, depending on the slope angle. And so this one would be then also an alpha, but in this case, we want to do lerp the normal. And this is not a vector, this is a scalar as well, okay? So now we can reroute this. So basically just cache this as well. So add named reroute declaration node. And this one is called alpha. Alpha is fine. Just call it alpha. And this one also add the named reroute declaration node, and this one we need to call it alpha normal, so we can distinguish. And let's just queue that. And now what we can do, we get the named reroutes here, and we get the B base color first. Wait, what is this? B albedo, what is that? Oh, I forgot. Oh, sorry, I forgot to rename this. This is the A albedo. Sorry for that. So now let's apply and save, just to update this. So we get the B albedo, right? Put it here. Let's get a little bit more space. So we get the B albedo, and then we lerp that with the A albedo, right? And then we get the alpha, but not the alpha normal, just the alpha. So basically this one here, the first one. Now we can lerp the B with A and connect the alpha to it. And then before we connect all that stuff, let's also just add named reroute declaration node. So we just cache this as well. And we call this one albedo. Perfect. And just for the sake of it, let's just rename this input here. So for our alpha, let's just rename this, just delete the albedo. So now it's better for us to realize what's going on here. So let's just call this one alpha. Makes more sense. Now basically we need to have this 5 times. You might have guessed it. Why that is? Because we can see specular, roughness, normal, ambient occlusion. So we need to do this 4 times. Just get that and put this here. So let me just queue this. And this one as well. So we have space and okay. So let's put it here. So we have space. And we can make this one maybe a little bit. Let's put it here. Okay. So we have 1 and 2, and then we have 3 here. And we have 4 and 5. And this is it. And now we just need to replace that. So we can delete those things here. So this would be the specular, this one would be the roughness, this one would be for normal, and this one would be for the ambient occlusion. When this is normal, then we can also delete the alpha, because this is one exception. This is the reason why we have this alpha normal here, because the normal is just acting different. So the reason why we have a separate alpha for the normal is because in a technical perspective, the normal is acting different. It has to do with the vertex, within the vertex normal and the pixel offset. This is why we have to treat this differently. So let's just prepare the cache, which would be the alpha normal. So only for this one we prepare this, okay? Now this is our albedo, okay? Now let's get the specular. So just in the right order, we do B specular with lerp with the A specular, right, like so. B and A. Then we take care of the roughness. So B roughness and A roughness, like so. We can clean up later. Just connect it for now. Then we have the normal here. Now you can see it. Change the alpha just for the normal. B normal, lerp with the A normal. Connect that one and hook that one up. Perfect. And the last one here would be, you might have guessed it, B ambient occlusion. And we lerp that with A ambient occlusion. And we hook those things up as well. So last thing here we need to do, of course, makes sense. This would be the specular. This would be then the roughness. And this is the normal. Sorry, I cannot type. And the AO, I just call it ambient occlusion. You can just call it AO, doesn't matter. Okay, and then we can mark those things. Just drag, select, and queue, drag, select, and queue each chunk. And then you can get all those things. Right click, alignment, left. And then with the arrow, you can just put it here. And you can do the same thing here, but I think this is already aligned properly. And then you can just queue this again if you want, just to make sure. Okay. Apply and save. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is regarding the alpha and the alpha normal. So we want to have like a boolean, whether we want to use the regular alpha or we want to use the alpha with the normal information. We need to add more things. So just down here, get the regular alpha. All right. And then also get the alpha normal. Put this like so. And we use a switch, but this would be a static switch. We put the alpha to true. Or if it's false, we want to use the alpha normal. For this, we get a function input as well. But you might have guessed this. It is not the function input bool. It is a static bool. Okay? And let's put it, let's just put it here. I don't care. You can also just make this a little smaller. And also we drag out from here, and we can also add a static bool, and we leave it as like this would be false by default if you just leave it. So click here on this static bool, and we use the preview value as default. Boom. So we do know that this one, when we leave it as default, as it is right now, that we have already the preview here, like we did set up. Now for this logic here, we drag out, and we do also add a named reroute declaration node. And we call this one the alpha normal final. So now we have all the logic here, whether we want to use the alpha normal or we just, if it's true, we want to use the regular alpha. And just queue that. And let's put it like so. I'm not sure, like so maybe. And now we can get the alpha normal final. So instead of this alpha here, you can just get rid of that. And now we can get the alpha normal final, okay? Just make sure that you replace this. Drag and queue, apply and save. And also, let's just rename this input a bool. When we put this to true or false, we wanna know what is it doing. So in this case, we wanna set this to, or we wanna rename this to vertex paint. So whether we wanna use vertex paint or not. Apply and save. All right, and then we are basically done with this logic here. Just delete this output result because we don't need that. Yeah, we can just get rid of that. It's perfectly fine. Let's just minimize those inputs. And now we can organize. So we set the priority here as well. So it's a little cleaner for our material function. And this one would be a 1. So this is the B, and the A would be 0. This is fine. So we have the A first and then the B. After that, we have the alpha as 2, the alpha normal as 3. And this one, the vertex paint, yes or no, we can put this one to 4. And then we apply and save. And before we leave here, let's just make this also a little bit more obvious for us. So just drag select this and press C. And this is the second material, B material. Let me just clean this one up a little bit. Like so. This one would be, of course, our first material. Or you can also just call it, I don't know, material A, material B. Doesn't really matter. It's just for you to organize the things so you can see that. Those two things we can also mark. This is the alpha, just the alpha logic, which is just a scalar. So we can increase or decrease basically our lerp between the first or the second material. So like, yeah, it's just the lerp control. And this one, drag, select, press C. And this one would be the vertex paint, like so. I don't really care about the color. Also, just a quick tip. When you click on that, there's also something like show bubble when zoomed. You can click this also. This just means when you have a lot of logic, especially like when you're in game development and you have a lot of like blueprints. In this case, it's not. But when you zoom out and you have a lot of stuff, you can also like always see the bubble when zooming out. So this is maybe, this comes in handy maybe sometimes. So yeah. And then this is the albedo, or I could just call it base color. This one is the specular. And this is the roughness. If I can type. That one would be normal. And then we have the AO. So just call it AO or ambient occlusion. I just call it ambient occlusion because I don't know. yeah, let's put it like so. You don't need to do, you don't need to clean this like I do. I'm just, sometimes I feel like I have, how you call it, OCD. I don't know if this is the right definition for that, but I just need to have it like so and here. So everything is perfectly aligned. And Q. Okay. Good. Apply and save. Okay, so now we have to get our material attributes. So for that, right click and set materials. So this time we need to set our material attributes to basically get everything, like all those different channels, I should say, or all those different textures, put this into one output. So for the set material attributes, you might have guessed that we need 5 and base color, and just get the right order here. So base color, then we do know that this is specular, then we do have roughness, and then we do have normal, so change the metallic to normal, and this one we change to ambient occlusion. And now right click, and then you can get your cache, basically. Normal, roughness, specular. Where's the albedo? Ah, there's the albedo, okay. Don't get the A or B albedo and stuff. You need to get the albedo, or if you, just in case if you call it base color, only this, not the A, B, this one. Albedo. So this is pretty important that this is the stuff here. Albedo, then the specular, then roughness, normal, and ambient occlusion. So make sure it is not A or B, it's just this one here. Right click, let's do align, left. And then albedo is base color, specular, specular, roughness is roughness, normal is normal, and ambient occlusion is ambient occlusion. Drag select and Q. Apply and save. And then from here, just drag out and get an output result. So just output, function output. Boom. Apply and save again. Okay, so now for that, this is perfectly fine. You can close it, you can just leave it if you want. But we need to do something completely new. So what we are going to do now is we go to material and we create another material function. We call this one mf underscore slope, okay? So now we can basically decide for our angle. I mean, yeah, it's just a flat plane what we have, but we are going to change this and make this bumpy, and we're gonna add hills and all that stuff. So I might just gonna use a Gaia map for that. I'm not sure, but make sure that you have this material function here. Okay, and here for the material function slope inside here, of course we only have the output. Let's just put inside here a vertex normal WS. So this is basically like the direction of our landscape material, depending on like for each vertex of our landscape. And for that, we want to mask only the blue channel. So the blue channel is going up. So this makes sense for us. So for the component mask, we just want to have the B and not the G and the R. So on the blue channel, and then we can connect that. And then we get a saturation node, saturate, and we multiply. So right click, multiply, or just press M and left click. This is also possible. And from here, you can also just promote this one to a parameter. And this one would be called slope amount. And we wanna make sure that we have just a tiny bit more than the default, so 1.1 in this case. We can start with this. After the multiply, we add a power node, connect the multiply to the power base, and we can control the power also with a parameter. So right click, promote the parameter, or you can just get S and click. And this one would be, instead of having the slope amount, this is the slope intensity. And for the exponent here inside our power, you can also just promote a parameter, or you can just S click. This is also something you can do. The same stuff, and then you can just call this one slope fall off. Fall off, yeah. Okay. The slope fall off, we can use the default by with 10 as a value. And then again, we just need to saturate this once again, and then we can apply and save. Okay, so now this will be our base logic for the vertex normal WS, but we also have the so-called pixel normal WS. So get this one, just search for pixel, then you have that here, pixel normal WS. And this is the same logic, and we can also use the slope amount and the slope fall off, it's all the same stuff. So for that, just copy the mask, saturate, multiply, power, and the saturate we have here. Just copy this and put this down here. So it's not going to change. It's just the same logic, just for the pixel normal WS. So we can hook this one up, and we multiply this with the same parameters for the pixel normal WS. Let's get some space. And then we want to get, for the vertex normal WS, we want to have a separate output. So just get a function output. And this function output, we call this the alpha normal. Okay, so this one is our vertex normal, the output. Then press A and click to get an add. So we want to have also at the same time, we want to have this added with our pixel normal WS. Okay. And then press M and click. And this is what we want to multiply with. So we get the saturate, which is our multiply into A. And we want to multiply this with the add. So the vertex normal WS and the pixel normal WS, the whole logic here. Let me just put this one here. It looks pretty weird. So the combination of both, we want to multiply this with our vertex normal WS. So put this into the B. And before we hook this one up to our output, just drag out from here and get another saturate. Boom. And then you can hook this one up. And now we are good to go. Apply and save. Let me just minimize this. And yeah, let's just leave it like so. Maybe we can just straighten this a little bit. Of course, you don't need to do that, but I just want to do it. And you can also straighten those reroute nodes by clicking here, straighten connection, boom, and from here, straighten connection, boom, and from here, straighten connection, this one, boom, and apply and save. And now we want to have the output alpha normal, so which is in this case only the vertex normal WS. We want to have the priority to 1, and this output result, we want to have we set the priority to 0, which is fine, but the result, we call the result alpha, okay? Now when we zoom out in our shader preview here, in our viewport, you can see it should look exactly like this. So when you have the slope amount for example to something like 3, you can see this should look like this, or 1 maybe, and 1.5, and the slope fall off, so like how blurry that is, or like how smooth that is. So you kind of have something more blurry. So a value of 0 would be completely sharp, no fall off. And then the max value would be something like 2 or 3. But let's just leave it. Let's just leave it at, I don't know. Let's just leave it at 5. But we are going to change this anyway. And it makes sense when we use our material instance. We want to add this to our material instance. So once we put our material function slope inside our material, of course, we want to have this grouped. So let's just rename this one to slope. And the slope amount should be like something like 0. So for the group, this would be on top. And the slope fall off, we can set this to 1. So this is now organized. All right, now one last material function for today, okay? So we want to combine all those material functions we have. So we need you remember we need the landscape layers function, the slope function we have here, and the previous function, the lerp function, where we separate the albedo and we separate the normal and the specular roughness and ambient occlusion and all that stuff. So let's create another material function. I know this is pretty like tedious, but we have everything organized, everything is perfect, everything is clean. So for this, let's call this last material function here for now MF layer logic. Yeah, just layer logic. Open that one up. So of course you only have the output here. And now we need to have, for this material function, we need to add our landscape layers. So let's go into layer. So we need our material function landscape layer, or landscape layers. We need the slope we just created a couple of seconds ago. And before that, we created the material function lerp. So this is what we have, and this is what we need. Okay? Okay, so now let's get to it and let's finish that stuff here. Now we just need to connect that. It's pretty simple. We just need to get the lerp. Let's put it here because we need to get from our landscape layers. We put the layers into the first material, and then the slope logic we just created. This would be like our second material. And for our slope, So this is the slope output here. This is basically the logic we have inside here. We have the alpha. And you can see this is the static bool. We don't need to connect anything because we use the preview as default, which is not active. It's false. And we can just leave it like so. So we don't need to connect anything. And then make sure if he's like, yeah, you need to connect something, make sure you need to go back into your mflerp here. And you need to set this static bool to preview value as default. Otherwise, he's going to criticize you to please hook something up. He's going to get mad. So let's just apply and save. And of course, I'm blind, so I wanted to connect the alpha to the alpha, makes sense, and the alpha normal to alpha normal. Sorry for that. And then apply and save. Makes sense. And now we just need to replace let me close the lerp and the slope. So we have our layer logic now, which is basically the landscape layer. So we are using this when we are only using this function. So when we open up our material, so mLandscape. So let's get back to our actual material. So we prepared this, right? So now we can just replace this. So you can just delete. Let me drag it here to the left. And then we can basically get the whole material function layer logic, which is everything here. So we have already the landscape layers. We just deleted this function here. So now we still have the function for our base material, but the slope is now connected as well. And we use whether we want to use the alpha or the alpha normal, and everything is fine. So this means we can go to the material function layer logic, if I can find that, layer logic, and we can use this one instead. And we connect the result here and drag select, and just drag select in queue and apply. It's gonna take a couple of seconds and then save. Okay, so now we're not going to see anything regarding our slopes. So this means we need to go to our landscape, and I will just give you a map we can just apply. So I will just create a Gaia map, and then I will just I will explain to you how you can apply this map. I will just give this for download, and then I will tell you how to use this as a mask, as like a height mask, and then you're going to have like a nice, sweet landscape with like cool hills and all that stuff. But for now, let's just see when we go to sculpt. Let's just see. Let's do erosion, or I don't care. Let's just sculpt really quick with the size of something like 512 maybe. Let's just do that. So yeah, you can see this looks like pretty funny, like a huge pile of like just grass. But we have the rock here, so let's just enable this. And then let's enable that. Get the albedo controls. So because I was lazy, so sorry for that, let's just get this to 1, brightness to 1, contrast to 1. And for this, I don't even care. And now you can see, it's funny because we don't, now you can see that the slope is working. So let's just, before we make this more functional, let's get the textures, let's get the rock. So just for preview, we get the albedo, we put the mossy rock into our albedo, we put the RDO into our RDO, and the normal into our normal. Boom. So now you can see that the rock is coming through just a tiny, tiny bit. So this is why we have the slope amount here. So let's do maybe 2. And then the slope fall off, you can set this one to 10 maybe. And then you can see here, we only have moss, the mossy rock. And when we do 1.1, 1.2. So this is why I told you, like, we need, like, the default value would be 1 for the slope. So this is like 45-degree angle, right? So this is our mossy rock. I mean, yeah, the texture is pretty crap. So this is just so we can see that this function is working. And then for the slope fall off, you can also just change how soft that is. So just a little bit. So maybe something like 5. 8, 7 is fine. Maybe something like 5 maybe. Something between 5 and 10. And yeah, then it's working. So, but I will just replace materials later anyway. But we can see it's working. Slope amount, just crank it up a little bit. And or maybe more. and the fall off. You can just use the slider so that you have maybe some subtle blend, but not too soft. And yeah, this is basically it. So now you have that. And then let's go back into, let's go saturation maybe 0.5, 0.8, 2, 1. I think 1 is fine. Brightness maybe 1.5. Contrast maybe 0.5. 1.5, no. 0.9 maybe. Yeah, change the tint if you want. Well, I don't really care for now. Specular, for now. 1 maybe, 0.5. Roughness and normal intensity is also working. So maybe 2, 3, 2.5. Maybe 2.5 is good. And yeah, so we do know that that is working. Let me save that. Save this. Save this. Let's get to our landscape. Let's get the hydro maybe. And then you can just play around with those settings. Let's get tool strength a little more, and let's do brush size. And then we can use the erosion. So yeah, now you can see this is the this is our rock material. Okay, good. So yeah, it's pretty ugly for now, but we do know that this is working, like the logic is working, and this is perfectly fine. Good, let's save. Let me also just really quick go to the ML landscape again and just fix my tiling. So I have 2, and then maybe 10, 5, 6. Let's do 8. So let's do 2 and 8 for all the materials. But as I said, it doesn't really matter for now. Oh, I need to organize this stuff here. So inside my layer 2, I do have the tiling, the rock tiling near and the rock tiling far. So of course I have to fix that. Where's the rock? Here's the rock. So I have to fix this. 2 and 8. So let me just reorganize that. Layer 2. Let's save. So let's just see. So yeah, let me just get the sun here. Okay, cool. Oh my god, what is wrong with the sun here? Come on. So let's go into the layers 2, because I need to clean this one up. 0, 1, and 2. 3, 4. And for the rock, so I didn't really, the rock stuff. We need to 1, 2, 0, 1, and 2, 3, 4. Yeah, okay, of course, this doesn't make any sense because this needs to go into rock. So just keep that one up. Just make sure you have that. Okay, cool. Let me see once again. Material instance, if this is organized. Yes, it is. So now everything is perfect, everything is organized. So what I want to do now is, before we proceed with parallax occlusion and all that stuff, so the fun stuff, I want it just for demonstration purposes. I mean, it's not really needed, but let me just import a huge landscape and let me just replace those textures so that we have at least something we can look at, because this is just not really useful at all for this purpose right now. So yeah, let's just do that in the next episode.